talking about doing the wrong thing, we have got this super committee deadline coming up next week on Wednesday where the House has to agree, or Congress in general has to agree on spending cuts. I think it's about $1.2 trillion in cuts. Of course, that's not, it's over 10 years. So you're talking about peanuts here. You're talking about a spit in the ocean when it comes to the actual debt. But these clowns can't even agree on these cuts. And of course, if they don't agree on it, then there's going to be automatic spending cuts that are going to kick in. Now, remember, this is what they agreed to back on that budget deal to raise the debt ceiling. They said, we don't know what the cuts are. We're going to give Congress a certain amount of time to come up with some cuts. And then if they don't come up with them, then there's going to be automatic cuts. Well, of course, they had all these months to come up with them. And here it is, again, the ninth hour. Congress is like, the kids in school that have weeks and weeks to do their midterm report or their essay, and they wait till the night before. You'd figure that, these are adults that have been in Congress for a long time. You'd think they wouldn't behave like junior high school kids that are doing all-nighters trying to cram in their term paper at the last minute. I mean, in fact, I remember working on mine, in the morning, getting no sleep. You'd show up and you'd turn the thing in. But you'd think that they would have learned their lesson by now. After all, they're not a bunch of teenagers, although they act like them. But what I think is ultimately going to happen is I don't think we're going to get any real cuts. And in fact, I don't even think we're going to get the automatic spending cuts. What I think these clowns are going to do is they are going to find a way to vote to prevent the automatic spending cuts from kicking in. And, of course, what's going to be the excuse? They're going to say, well, the economy is too weak. We can't endanger the recession. Unemployment is still at 9%. We can't cut. It's too draconian. It's going to hurt the economy. It's going to hurt jobs. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. And they will not allow these cuts to actually take place, which, of course, was probably their plan all along. The whole idea of this super committee was all nonsense. It's political gamesmanship. Whenever Congress sets up a committee to do something, they know full well going in that it doesn't matter what the committee does, they're not going to do anything. It's just a means of pretending to do something, but not actually doing anything. So if they instead of cutting the budget, what they do is they say, okay, let's create a committee, and the committee is going to figure out what to cut. That way they don't have to cut anything. They can say, look, we voted for the committee to come up with some cuts, and so they can postpone actually having to make any cuts. And then they know as soon as the committee comes out with the recommendations, oh, we can't do that. Oh, no. And then that's it. And it's all about pretend. It's all about making believe they're actually doing something. Meanwhile, we have to waste money. The taxpayers have to spend money to run these committees. A lot of times they bring in outside people, they pay them. It's a complete giant waste of money for political theater just so our leaders can avoid actually doing anything, yet still get reelected by pretending that they're doing something. We ought to get rid of this whole concept of committees to study thing. It's all a joke anyway. If you want to make cuts, cut. If you're gonna talk about cutting the deficit, don't just set up a committee. Do it. Accept responsibility. Anyway, we will be back. We got a bunch.